Peace and blessings, your brother, your friend, your dietitian, back again for another installment out here in Southern California, nice and sunny. Today, I want to talk about español. ¿Cómo aprender? ¿Cómo vas a aprender español? En serio, es tan fácil, pero vamos a hablar. How are you going to learn Spanish? It's really easy, to be honest, but we're going to discuss it today. Some tips I have on how to easily learn Spanish. Some of my other videos, I have videos of me in Mexico and Guatemala and different parts of Latin America, but I want to just talk briefly about share my path and my system of learning a new language. I think it can be applied to any language. I tried to learn Spanish a lot growing up, and I had a tough time. So hopefully these tips help. All right. So 5 ways to learn Spanish. So 5 ways to learn Spanish. The first way you really want to begin learning Spanish is, I would advise studying the alphabet. We study so many things in depth, so many things on an advanced level, and even if you've already taken Spanish classes, if you've never taken Spanish classes, start off with just learning the alphabet, and that'll be your foundation of the language. It's just like mathematics. You can't start studying calculus and all these high level maths without actually understanding arithmetic and how to count from 1 to 1,000 or 1 to 1,000,000 or whatever. So you have to learn the basics, get the building blocks down. After you get the alphabet, what you'll do is you'll become familiar with how the letters sound and how the letters are different from the letters in your native language. So if you're speaking Croatian or Japanese or English, which I speak, you're going to see how A and A sound differently. B and B sound differently. C and C sound differently. You have to get the accent down if you're going to communicate clearly in another language. So you should start off with studying the alphabet and studying pronunciation. You can do that by going online. They have Google Translate. It's a really good source for hearing the pronunciation of words and letters. And then you can just get like audio cassettes from your local library, just online. Go and search how to pronounce the different letters. There's different websites that'll also detail that and break that down. That's the first thing. And then something that's really important is learning as well how to pronounce words or letters when they're in combination with other letters. So certain letters like G, for example, it could be pronounced as he, or it could be pronounced as g, like kind of how we have gusto. Or it can be pronounced like general. So general or generally, instead of it being j, it's he. So it's important to know that it's all based on what comes after the word, or what comes after the letter, determine on how you pronounce it. So yeah, start studying those basics first, and then from there you'll really see how to begin speaking the tongue, Spanish. The next thing I really would say, number 2, is studying vocabulary. You want to study as much vocabulary as possible, because language is made up of vocabulary words. Now, in school, I know personally, I would just learn a bunch of like seemingly nonsensical, useless words. I'll say this to you. There's not one useless word in a language. Knowledge is power. You should try to learn as many words as possible when you're learning Spanish. But what I would say is, first start off with the most useful or the most often utilized vocabulary words. So think about a baby, or think about someone who doesn't speak a language that well. What are the basics that they need to know? Like, you should start off learning the days of the week. You should start off learning the months of the year. You should start off learning how to count. You should start off learning about a car or a house or book. Like casa, libro, calle, how to say the street, banco, dinero, pájaro. Like, you got to learn how to say basic animals, learn basic body parts, learn basic things that you see out in the environment. Start studying those, and as you study those, then you can move to more complex ones. But you want to start off studying vocabulary, and you can have like a task of having like one list of vocabulary words every day, or you could do it every week or every month, however you want to break it down. What I discovered that's really useful is something called a frequency dictionary. Frequency dictionaries are phenomenal. You can find them in any language, but they're produced by linguists and language learning enthusiasts. And what they do, basically, they study the usage of words in popular media. So in television shows, in magazines, newspapers, they see what are the most often used words in this language, and then they'll create a dictionary based off of those words, and those words are ranked from most utilized to least utilized, and it may have 1,000 words, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, and they're all ranked on the most utilized words. So if you're trying to learn a language, after you get the basics down, like certain categories like body parts, like I said, food is really important, household items, societal items, business, politics, all those things down, you can start studying the frequency dictionary. So you'll learn the most pertinent words in any language, the most important words in any language. I've seen one in Portuguese, the frequency dictionary, and I have one in Spanish, and I just study from there. And I believe me that you'll start hearing the words that you're studying. You'll see those words in conversation. You'll listen to them and hear them out in public. So I recommend the frequency dictionary. Another dictionary I recommend is just getting a general dictionary. I use this one, Merriam-Webster's Spanish English Dictionary. This is really good because what you want to make a habit of doing is looking up every word you come across that you don't know in Spanish. Look that joint up, and you'll start creating a habit of learning words. Also, you could just read the dictionary. I put a video out about Malcolm X and how his life influenced mine. And he read the dictionary, the whole dictionary from the beginning to end when he was in college, when he was incarcerated. I should say, not in college. He was basically in college where he was studying, but he was incarcerated and he read the dictionary. But you can also read the dictionary, and you'll be surprised how much Spanish you just learn just from reading through the dictionary and looking at the different words and what they mean. All right. Lastly, in the vocabulary section, I would recommend an online website called Quizlet.com. Quizlet.com. It's wonderful. I use it on my iPhone. It's good because it's an app, and with the app, what you can do is basically create online flashcards, and you can create lists of vocabulary words, and you can study them digitally. So you can pull up your iPhone, you can pull up your computer, and you can basically flip through flashcards on your phone. So if you're chilling at the bus stop waiting for a friend, at the mall, at the movies, you can just pull it out, study your flashcards, and go through them. Another thing I like is that they have it where you can randomize it, so you can flip them around, randomize it. You can have it where the Spanish is on the front and you have to realize what the word is in English, or you can have an English word and then learn what the word is in Spanish or in any other language. Then they have even little games where you can match the words together and try and beat your time. They time you how fast you can match the words. It's really cool. They create games for you to learn, and it's free, so can't beat that, right? So I would try all those things to learn vocabulary. Another thing that's really super important is the third thing, which is studying grammar. This is one of the most painful things people really don't like doing. It's necesario. It's just necessary, because if you don't speak grammatically correct, people will look at you like you're, I don't want to get into that yet, but people will look at you like you're crazy only because they can't understand you. And it's not like you're a fool or you're crazy. It's just simply they don't understand you. So when you're speaking in Spanish, or say you're speaking English, if I'm not using proper tense, it wouldn't make sense. So if I said tomorrow I went to the store, you would be like, tomorrow I went to the store. That doesn't make any sense, because I'm supposed to say tomorrow I'm going to the store, or tomorrow I will or I shall visit the store. But if I say yesterday I'm going to the store, it wouldn't make sense because the tenses are off. So you have to make sure that that's using the proper tenses, and in order to do that, you have to learn grammar of the language. Now, it could be a pain, but I would still recommend you do it. Something you can really do is buy like grammar books. You could buy grammar books. You can find them on the internet on Amazon.com. You can go to libraries and get some old ones, or you can go to Barnes & Noble's, just a regular bookstore, and get them. I recommend taking a class. If you can take a local class, it will really be helpful, like at a community college, or if you take a class, out somewhere else, it will be nice. Only because you need structured learning. If you're really good at creating your own kind of schedule and learning on your own, that's good. But if not, I would get a class because they guide you along. You want to learn the present tense, irregular forms, past tense, future perfect. You want to learn all as much grammar as possible. There's a website I recommend as well. It's called studyspanish.com, because the thing with grammar is that you have to learn the rules first, and then you have to implement the rules. So you learn the rules first, and then once you learn the rules, you have to implement them with practice. It's like math almost. So studyspanish.com is really good because it has exercises, and it's like an infinite number of online exercises. I think if you pay like $10 a year or something like that, you can get like even more online exercises. It's like less repetition in terms of the vocabulary words that they give you, and you want to just use those as much as possible. And then if you take a class, it'll be good too, because you can take tests and quizzes, and they'll drill it into your mind. So that's another thing, is studying grammar. And then this book, I had this book for years because I always wanted to learn Spanish, but it never really became useful until I started learning. That was kind of fast. Until I started learning grammar. This is Barron's Foreign Language Guides. It's 501 Spanish verbs, and they conjugate the verbs. That means they break down the different tenses of the verbs. This really became useful once I learned the tenses, because once I learned the tenses, it was almost like a vocabulary list, kind of, because it's like verbs make up verbs are like the meat of the sentence. If you have a lot of verbs you can use, you can really express yourself well. And so once you start getting into grammar, you should cop this book. It's a really good book. It's worth it. It's vale la pena. So go and get this. I learned a lot that way with grammar, and on studyspanish.com. That was really good. So those are some tips in terms of grammar. It's kind of tough, man. Grammar is it is what it is. It's hard, but you just have to just go for it. It'll all tie together. It'll all tie together with the next thing I'm going to say, how to get the grammar and the vocab and everything. So the fourth thing is studying, or I should say, the fourth thing is listening comprehension. Developing like ear for Spanish. So you want to start watching Spanish television, Spanish cartoons, and Spanish music. Some people always ask, well, should I have subtitles? Should I not have subtitles? Should the subtitles be in Spanish? Should they be in English? What should I do? It all depends on your level and what you want to do, because I've experienced it with subtitles, with no subtitles, with English subtitles, with Spanish subtitles, and honestly, I watch it with no subtitles because I met a guy in Mexico on the plane coming back from Mexico, and he learned English. He spoke English really well. He took some classes, but he said he learned the most from watching English television. But he told me that you should turn off the subtitles because it actually confuses you. If you understand the language and you listen to it and you see what the subtitles are saying, it's actually different from what the actual cartoon or the television actually saying. So you won't be able to connect the words that you're reading with the words that you're hearing, because, well, you'll be able to connect like 90% of it, but like 10% of the vocab words, they're actually different from what the people are saying. They just put down words that are like more commonly used in our language. But then even in Spanish, I've seen it where like they'll use a different word for what they're saying on television. It's like weird. So I don't personally use subtitles just because of that reason. But your mind picks up the language without the subtitles. But if you use the subtitles, it won't hurt you in the beginning. It'll actually help you. But you're gonna get to a plateau where you're so good at listening that you won't need the subtitles, and they'll actually do more harm because you'll be reading more so than listening. So you want to focus on listening. So try as much as possible not to use subtitles. The music, I like Chokip Town. They're from Colombia. They're Afro-Colombianos, and their music is amazing. Hasta el Techo. I like Cultura Profética. I like who else do I like? How could her name slip my mind right now? I was just listening to her. She's a Cubana, Afro Cubana. Oh my God, Cynthia Cruz. I can't remember, but anyway, I think it's Cynthia Cruz. I feel so bad, but I listen to her, and I listen to a couple other people. But you want to listen to Spanish music too. If you read the actual lyrics and then you listen to it, you can learn a lot from Spanish music. Some people told me to be careful with reggaeton because they teach you like slang and stuff, and it's not correct correct Spanish. But I don't know if that's true or not. I don't listen to reggaeton like that, but I listen to Hasta el Techo by Choki Town, Alguien Como Tú. It's a really good song. And then I watch YouTube videos in Spanish too. There's this girl that I really like. Her name is Carolina Contreras. She's the founder of Mis Rizos. She promotes like natural hair and for Afro-Dominican women and then Dominican Republic, and she promotes it all over. But she has all her videos are in Spanish, and she's a cutie, and I love her work. Shout out to Mis Rizos or Carolina. Te amo. But I already talked to her and told her how cool she is or whatever. She's doing great work, so I watch her videos. But when you do that, you're learning how to pronounce words. You're hearing new vocabulary words, and you're hearing the grammar as well, grammar utilized. So after you study grammar a lot, what you want to start doing is listening for the grammar that you learned on television. That way it's reinforcing your mind. Another thing you can do is do it before you go to sleep, because it'll work on your subconscious, at your subconscious level. It's really important to get your subconscious going. So when you study in your flashcards and things like that, do it just before you go to sleep, because it'll hit your subconscious. If you're watching things online, do it before you go to sleep. It hits your subconscious. How the hell do I watch Spanish television? You can go to Univision, or you can look up something called a VPN. It's virtual something network. I forgot what it stands for. But a VPN basically masks your DNS server number. I'm getting into the technicals. Let's just keep it simple. If you want to watch online cartoons, shows, some of your favorite television, The Office, Breaking Bad, Avengers, Transformers, all of that stuff, you can actually get Netflix, pay for Netflix separately, and get a VPN where it'll let you seem like you're in Latin America, seem like you're in Mexico, Colombia, and it'll fool Netflix or fool Hulu, and you'll be able to watch your favorite shows in Spanish. I did this with mine, and sometimes I turn it off because some months I'm practicing Spanish different ways. I don't watch it a lot, so I don't want to waste the money. But it only costs $5 if you go to a website called unblockus.com, unblock.com. It breaks down how it works. It's not illegal. You can do it, and it's only $5 a month, and you can watch as much television you want online in Spanish. But you already have to have a Netflix, or you already have to have some other type of bees and stuff out here, some other type of service in order to watch it. So that helps a whole lot, and it only costs $5. Right? So that's something I really recommend. One other thing before I get to my final tip, my fifth tip, is with Quizlet. It's super cool because what you can do, I used to do this, and I'm going to start again. Well, I still kind of do it sometimes. Is that you can plug your iPhone. Hold on. You can plug your iPhone into the auxiliary cord in your car, if you have a car, or you can just put in headphones. And what you can do after you've kind of learned the list, your vocabulary list, what you can do is put it into the auxiliary cord, and you can actually push play on your flashcards. So por ejemplo, say the first flashcard was for example. It would say for example, and then in your mind you say por ejemplo. Por ejemplo means for example in Spanish, and it's like an autoplay feature, and it'll just play it. So you can play vocabulary list while you're driving. You can just go over them, and then if you want to set it on repeat, you can even set it on repeat, or you can push study again, and it'll start the list over again, and you can just visualize the words, how to spell them, or it's dangerous to look down at your phone while you're driving, but if you're on a bus or something, you can do that, and it just goes through automatic, and you can just study vocabulary words unconsciously, really, because you're just driving down the street, and it's going through the vocabulary words. Super useful, man. I mean, it's a lot of resources out there to learn Spanish. That's how I learned a lot of my Spanish. But the fifth way I should say, is the best, most efficient way of learning Spanish, and I'm about to give it to you. Okay, so the final way of learning Spanish, and the best way, en mi opinión, me parece que hay que hablar, hay que practicarlo, hay que practicar. Cuando practicas, aprendes mucho. What am I saying? In my opinion, I believe that you have to speak it. If you speak it, you'll learn it. If you don't, you will not. So, speak Spanish. Habla español. Háblalo. Habla español. Speak Spanish. Speak it. Even if you sound dumb, even if you're using incorrect grammar, even if you're shy, even if your accent sucks, you sound like a güera or güero, go out there and speak it like God gave you the right to speak it, like God gave you permission to speak it, like the God of Spanish gave you the right to speak it, because con confianza puedes hacer todo. With confidence, you can do anything. And people like people with confidence. So if you can just say buenos dias con confianza. Say buenos dias, say good morning with confidence. If you could only say hola, me llamo Marco, hi, my name is Mark, say that with confidence. Whatever you say it with confidence. Because with confidence, you already have the battle won. If you don't have confidence, you're twice defeated in the world. So always start off with confidence. There's a tool you can use. One are all the Hispanic people that live in your neighborhood or in your environment. Go into the bodegas. If you're on the East Coast, go outside. If you're in Los Angeles, no, but go different places and try and speak to people in Spanish. Even if you just say basic things, say it and just speak it to them. If you have a neighbor that speaks Spanish, try and speak it to them. If you see a child, hola, ¿cómo estás? ¿Cómo te llamas? How do you, what's your name? And ask people questions. If you're shy and you feel like, oh no, I can't, I have to build up more confidence, I would say go out there and do it anyway. But if not, what you can do is go to a website. It's called www.italki.com. Start an account. With this website, you'll find people who are trying to learn languages. This is not just with Spanish. That's why these principles I'm laying out, you can practice them with any language. You can learn any language with these principles. Go to italki.com, start an account, and post on there which language you're trying to learn. And so the way it works is that it's a community of people. They have some teachers that you can get paid, or they can get paid, and you can pay them and they can teach you and tutor you, or you could just find a partner, a language partner, that's what they're called. And that language partner, say for example they're in Spain and they want to learn how to speak English, so you can language partner up with them and say, hey buddy, quiero aprender español, I want to learn Spanish, you want to learn English, let's talk together in English for 30 minutes, and then we'll talk together in Spanish for 30 minutes. Or if you can't talk for 30 minutes, let's talk for 5 minutes in English, and then we'll talk for 5 minutes in Spanish. That way, you start practicing your Spanish. And another thing is they're going to correct you. And oh boy, will they correct you. But they'll teach you a lot of things, because you'll be asking them questions like, well, what does that mean? You just said something. ¿Qué significa eso? ¿Cómo se dice eso? ¿Qué es eso? You just keep asking questions, and they'll tell you. I'm speaking Spanish. How is that? What is that? How do you say that? What does that mean? What's it? In what sense are you trying to say this, or what is that? And they'll break it down to you. And so every day after work, I would come home and get on a Skype, and I would talk to these people. I would set up appointments. All right, we're gonna talk at 5:30 my time, 8:30 your time, if they're in a different part of the world, or 5:30 my time, 5:30 your time, whatever part of the world they're in. And then you guys just talk for 30 minutes. And I would just ask some silly stuff like, ¿Cómo es el clima? How is the climate? Or, how is the weather? Or, ¿Cuántos hermanos tienes? How many brothers do you have? Just ask random questions. But the point is just to practice the pronunciation and practice speaking it. Because your brain is going to be registering that I'm speaking a new language. And they're going to correct you. And then they're going to speak to you in English. And it's going to be cool because you're going to be hearing them speak English. And they're going to have an accent. And they're going to mess up. And you're going to feel comfortable. But another way is going out and just speaking it to people. And then lastly, the best way, which I did, was go to the country of origin, somewhere where everybody around you speaks only that language. And you're thinking, how the hell am I going to do that? You're creative. You're inventive. You have all the power that you need to do it. I was working a 9-to-5 full-time job, and I wrote up a proposal saying that I need to go overseas for a month's time and learn Spanish to better help my clients and to be a better asset to the company. And they didn't pay me to go, but they let me go. So most people just only have a week or two vacation, but I went for way longer, and it wasn't even a vacation. It was me studying. But there are ways of doing it. It only costs $600 for me to be out there, not including the ticket. And I was there for a whole month. I went to Guatemala. So you can look these things up. There's opportunities where they're really cheap. So I went and I studied Spanish at a Spanish school, and I spoke Spanish every day. I had conversations every day in la comunidad, in la calle, en el calle. La calle? El calle. I think it's el calle, in the street. But anyway, you go out and you just speak it in the community. You ask, where's the bathroom? I want some food. I want some Mexican food. I'm vegetarian. I'm not vegetarian. I like fish. I don't like fish. You're pretty. Leave me alone. Déjame en paz. Whatever you're practicing, it's all in Spanish because you're out there and you're immersing yourself. Get out there, have some enthusiasm, and learn the language. You can do it. If I can do it, anyone can do it. These are the principles, 5 principles. Study the alphabet and pronunciation. Study vocabulary. Study grammar. Listen to Spanish on television. Use Quizlet in all these, methods. Use italki.com. And finally, speak the mother-loving language. Your brother, your friend, your dietitian, back again for another installment. Tu hermano, tu nutricionista, tu amigo, regresando otra vez aquí en YouTube. All right, peace and love, y'all.